At a barbecue, my wife laughed and said, "Our marriage is a 5 at best. He spends money, but my heart doesn't love him." Everyone went silent. Days later, I overheard her tell her friend, "Sometimes I wonder if I settled." That's when I stopped begging, moved my money, walked away, and let her finally see what life looks like without her plan B. My name is Daniel. I'm 34 and I live in Texas. For 3 years, I believe my marriage to Melissa was steady and real. We had ordinary fights and small reconciliations, but I thought we were building something that mattered. One backyard barbecue changed that view. We were at Rebecca's place, a casual evening of burgers and folding chairs. Melissa chatted with friends. Rebecca asked, half joking, "If you had to rate your marriage, what number would you give it?" I expected Melissa to laugh and say something warm. Instead, she answered flatly, 5. Maybe 6 on a good day. Conversation stopped. People glanced around, awkward. I felt like the ground shifted under me, but I kept a composed face. Rebecca asked why. Melissa explained without heat. "He pays bills, takes me out, buys gifts. It's comfortable, but my heart isn't really in it." Her words were practical, like describing an appliance that worked but no longer excited anyone. That practical tone made it worse. It suggested she had thought this out and decided it was acceptable. I pushed through the rest of the evening in a fog, hearing only that phrase over and over. At home, I tried to talk. "Did you mean that?" I asked. She rolled her eyes. "Daniel, it was just a conversation. Don't make it bigger than it is. You're overreacting." Overreacting. The word landed like another dismissal. I couldn't reconcile the woman who shrugged at my worry with the woman I thought I knew. Questions crowded my mind. Had she felt this way before? Did she marry me for comfort, not love? I searched my memory for signs I had missed. Days passed, and her behavior didn't change. She laughed at messages I wasn't part of and spent evenings with friends more often. Those small shifts felt like evidence. I stopped assuming her smiles were for me. Every casual kindness began to feel conditional. Finally, I asked the question that had been growing inside me, the one I had tried to avoid. "Why did you marry me? Was it ever love?" She hesitated, then said quietly, "I thought it was love. Maybe it was for a time. But lately it feels more like stability than passion." Hearing that made something in me go quiet. It wasn't dramatic, but it was final seeming. I realized the life I pictured, shared plans, inside jokes, quiet support, might have been held up by habit more than feeling. It left me wondering what part of our life was real and what part was easy. A few days later, I overheard her on the phone with Rebecca. She said, very plainly, "Daniel is sweet, but he doesn't make my heart race. Sometimes I wonder if I settled." That confirmed the fear I'd been pushing away. It wasn't a one-time careless comment. It was how she thought about us when she believed no one was listening. The recognition didn't spark an argument that night. It opened a new, grim clarity instead. I needed to take care of myself. By week's end, I stopped reacting. I took small steps to separate my feelings from the immediate rush of hurt. I started to think about practical changes and whether this marriage could be rebuilt if honesty replaced convenience. Melissa brushed off everything I tried to bring up after that barbecue. "Daniel, you're exaggerating," she said one night while scrolling through her phone. It was a silly question. I gave a silly answer. But there was nothing silly about telling people you didn't love your husband. The word overreacting echoed in my head like an accusation. I lay awake most nights, staring at the ceiling, asking myself questions I never thought I'd ask. Was she just being brutally honest? Or had she never loved me at all? Was I simply her safe choice? The man she could rely on when life got uncertain? She didn't seem shaken by what she said. In fact, she carried on as if nothing had happened. She went out for drinks with friends and posted smiling pictures online. Meanwhile, I was dragging around the weight of her words like it was strapped to my chest. Every time she kissed me goodnight, I wondered if it was just routine. Every smile felt like it was rehearsed. I started noticing things I had ignored before. The way she scrolled on her phone for hours instead of talking to me. The way she looked out the window when I spoke. The way she sighed whenever I asked for her attention. I couldn't keep the doubt locked inside any longer. One evening, while she was folding laundry, I asked directly, "Melissa, why did you marry me? Was it because you loved me, or was it just stability?" She stopped folding for a second, then gave a small sigh. "Daniel, love is complicated. At first, I thought it was love. Maybe it was for a while. But you were safe. You cared for me. Passion, though, that spark you're talking about, it's not really there." Her words didn't come with anger or cruelty. They came with a kind of tired honesty that cut even deeper. I wasn't her dream. I was her safety net. I sat there quiet. She went back to folding shirts, like she hadn't just erased years of my life with a few sentences. That night, I wanted to pack a bag and leave. But some small, desperate part of me still hoped I was wrong. That maybe we could fix this, that maybe she'd realize what she was throwing away. A week later, that hope finally broke. She was on the phone with Rebecca again, her voice carrying down the hallway. I wasn't eavesdropping on purpose. I just happened to pass by when she said the words that ended it for me. Daniel is sweet, but he's not the man who makes my heart race. Sometimes I wonder if I settled. I stood frozen, listening to her laugh softly on the other end of that call. That was it. No more guessing, no more reading between the lines. She admitted it. She didn't love me. She never really did. I was the backup plan, the safe bet, the reliable one she could lean on. Something in me shut down after that. Not with rage or a scene. Just quiet. The Daniel who believed effort and money could keep a marriage alive stopped existing that night. I knew I couldn't beg her to love me anymore. The question wasn't if I'd change things. It was how. The night I overheard her say she settled, for me, something inside me shifted. I wasn't going to beg anymore. I wasn't going to chase after her affection like it was some prize I needed to earn. If she thought of me as a safety net, then she was about to see what life looked like when the net wasn't there. The first step was simple: stop reacting. No more late-night questions about where we stood. No more desperate attempts to make her notice me. When she laughed at her phone, I didn't ask who she was talking to. I didn't wait up for her. I just stopped playing my part in the script she was used to. Instead, I gave myself distance. I booked a long weekend away with a friend. I left my laptop and daily routines behind, just to breathe in a different space. For the first time in weeks, I felt silence that wasn't heavy. It was freeing. That quiet gave me clarity. The second step was practical: our finances. For years, we shared everything: joint accounts, shared cards, bills under both names. It worked when I believed we were a team. But if she truly saw me as nothing more than a provider, then I needed to protect myself. I didn't make a big show of it. I called the bank, set up a private savings account, and moved my money. I updated my passwords and shifted recurring bills onto a card only I controlled. All legal, all clean. I wasn't cutting her off, but I wasn't going to be her open wallet either. The third step was harder: emotional distance. I started therapy. I knew if I carried this pain alone, it would eat me alive. Sitting across from someone who didn't know Melissa, didn't know me, but was willing to listen, it felt strange at first. But I needed it. I told the therapist about the barbecue, about Melissa's words, about the phone call where she said she settled. Saying it out loud hurt, but it also stripped away the denial. Therapy didn't make the anger vanish. What it did was change it. Instead of letting rage run wild, I began to set boundaries. Instead of fantasizing about revenge, I learned to focus on choices, what I would and would not accept going forward. By the time I came back from that weekend away, I was calmer. I didn't explode when Melissa tried to act like everything was normal. I didn't lash out when she made coffee in the morning or left notes on the counter, as if small gestures could erase the words she had said. When she smiled at me, I kept my expression neutral. When she leaned against me on the couch, I didn't move closer. I wasn't cruel, but I wasn't clinging either. Melissa noticed. "You're different," she said one evening, her tone uncertain. I just nodded. "Yeah, I am." What I didn't tell her was that I was finally putting myself first. I wasn't going to drown just to keep her afloat. The Daniel who had spent nights planning surprise dates, buying little gifts, or overcompensating with effort, he was gone. What was left was someone who had seen the truth and decided not to live in denial. I didn't know where this would end: divorce, separation, or maybe even an attempt to fix things. But I knew one thing: I was done being Plan B. When I came back from that weekend away, the air in our house felt different. Not because Melissa had changed, she hadn't, but because I had. She acted like nothing was wrong. She made coffee in the mornings, left little notes on the counter, and asked me about errands. It was like she thought these small rituals could patch the cracks she had carved into us. One morning, over breakfast, she asked casually, "Did you get the mail yesterday?" She smiled like she expected me to just slide back into routine. I set down my cup. "No, we need to talk about us." Her smile disappeared. "Again? Daniel, I told you, it was a stupid comment. Stop making a mountain out of a molehill." I kept my voice calm. "I heard you say you settled, Melissa. You said you don't love me. That's not a molehill." Her face went pale. For the first time, the easy defenses she always leaned on didn't come. She looked away, fiddling with her spoon. "I didn't mean it the way you think," she whispered. "Then how did you mean it?" I asked. She opened her mouth, then shut it again. Finally, she shook her head. "I don't know. Save it," I said softly. "I'm not asking for excuses. I'm asking what you want now. Because I have to decide what I want to." That night, she broke. She cried. Real tears, not the casual kind you throw out for sympathy. She pleaded, said she wanted to try again, that maybe she had been careless with her words, but that she could find her way back to love. For a second, I almost believed her. There was a rawness in her face I hadn't seen in a long time. But then I remembered how easily she had reduced our marriage to a number, how casually she admitted she might have settled. People don't say things like that unless they've thought them before. I told her I needed time apart. Not to punish her, not as a threat, but because I needed space to figure out who I was outside of this marriage. I moved out for a few weeks, telling myself it was temporary, though we both knew the distance carried its own message. At first, Melissa called every night, leaving long voicemails when I didn't pick up. She promised she'd try harder, that she wanted to fight for us. Then the calls slowed. When I did answer, her voice sounded distracted, like she was only half there. Her behavior shifted in ways that spoke louder than words. She started going out more often, buying new clothes, staying out late. Her social media began to look like a highlight reel for someone else's attention. One night, I saw her smiling at her phone, typing quickly, then slipping it face down when she noticed me watching. I didn't ask who it was. I didn't need to. A month later, we were at dinner with mutual friends. Rebecca was there too, the same friend who had asked that fateful question at the barbecue. Halfway through the meal, she said, almost casually, "So, Melissa, are you really okay now? You said you didn't love him, remember? How's that going?" The table went still. All eyes flicked toward me. Melissa froze, her fork halfway to her plate. She glanced at me, waiting for me to defend her, to smooth things over like I always had. But I wasn't the same man who used to cover her tracks. I didn't flinch when Rebecca brought it up. I kept my face blank and my voice steady. "We're separating for now," I said. "We're both figuring things out." The table went silent. Melissa's eyes widened and then narrowed. She shook her head quickly, whispering, "That's not true. Don't say that. You're trying to embarrass me." The irony hit me hard. She was angry that I told the truth, but she had no problem saying in front of the same friend that our marriage was a 5 and that she didn't love me. She could throw the first stone, but hated when it came back around. Some friends exchanged glances. A few looked at me with pity, others at Melissa with judgment. Whispers would spread after that dinner. I knew it, but I didn't care anymore. Let people think what they want. Back at the house, Melissa confronted me. "How could you humiliate me like that?" she demanded, her voice shaking. "Melissa," I said quietly, "I didn't humiliate you. I told the truth. The same truth you've been saying to your friend behind my back. I just stopped pretending." Her anger deflated then, replaced by something softer. Her eyes filled with tears. She sat down on the floor, right in the middle of the living room, and for once there was no defensiveness, no excuses. "I don't want this to be just about comfort anymore," she said. "You were right to pull away. I realized I was living safely, not really. But I don't want you to suffer because of my cowardice." Her voice cracked. She didn't beg. She didn't perform. For the first time in a long time, she spoke honestly. "I thought about everything. The way she once said I was sweet but not enough. The way she rated our marriage like it was an exam. The way she carried on like nothing was wrong while I drowned in silence. But I also thought of our early days. The clumsy dates, the small gestures, the tenderness that had felt so raw and real before routine dulled it. "So what do you want now?" I asked. She wiped her eyes. "To try. With effort this time. No shortcuts." I could have ended it right there. I could have called a lawyer the next morning, signed papers, and erased her from my future. Part of me wanted to. But another part of me, the part that still believed in honesty and choice, hesitated. "I'll try," I said finally, "but it won't be the same. We'll need therapy, transparency, and real effort. If it falls apart, at least it'll fall apart honestly." Months passed. It wasn't easy. Some nights we sat in silence, not knowing what to say. There were setbacks, moments when old wounds reopened. But there were also new, small moments. Her leaving a book on my nightstand with a note inside. Us going for a walk without our phones. Her apologizing without expecting instant forgiveness. The marriage rating never came up again. We stopped measuring ourselves by numbers or comparing our lives to someone else's. Instead, we counted the nights we actually showed up for each other when it was easier to withdraw. We're still not perfect. Maybe we'll never be. But perfection isn't what I want anymore. What I want is honesty, real effort, not just convenience. And if it fails, at least I'll know I didn't settle for being plan B again. I appreciate you watching till the end. Hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more content.